Chapter 3, Chasing Shadows, Page 1. Robert Alexander darted through the cramped alleyways behind the Truth Beacon building, his breath coming in ragged gasps, the thumb drive clutched in a white-knuckled grip. His dress shirt clung to his back, soaked with sweat, the humid morning air pressing down like a heavy blanket. Behind him, black SUVs prowled the streets with chilling precision, their tinted windows hiding the men inside, men who weren't there to arrest him. They were there to erase him. He ducked behind a dumpster just as one of the vehicles turned slowly into the alley, its headlights slicing through the gloom. Heart hammering in his chest, Robert pressed his body against the filthy brick wall, willing himself to disappear into the shadows. Stay calm. Stay smart. Get out alive. The voice of the anonymous caller echoed in his memory. They know your name. They know you're digging. Trust no one. The SUV rolled past slowly, almost lazily, like a shark circling wounded prey. Robert waited, muscles burning, until the vehicle turned the corner at the alley's end and vanished from sight. Without wasting a second, he bolted down the side street, weaving through trash cans and piles of broken crates. His mind raced just as fast as his legs. He had the evidence, blueprints, files, and that one gut-wrenching memo connecting Tesla, Musk, and someone identified only as DT. But he needed more. Without definitive video or first-hand testimony, it would be easy for the government to dismiss him as a conspiracy nut or worse, frame him as a criminal. Robert burst out of the alley onto a wider street, blending into the early morning crowd. For now, the city protected him. But he knew better. Time was running out. He needed to find a safe place to decode the rest of the drive, and fast. Because somewhere, not too far behind him, death was already catching up. Chapter 3, Chasing Shadows, Page 2. Robert melted into the tide of commuters, forcing himself to adopt the pace of a man with nowhere special to be. Inside, he was a live wire stretched tight, every instinct screaming to run faster, hide deeper. But running wild would draw attention. And right now, attention was the one thing that would get him killed. He dipped into a grimy coffee shop on the corner, a tiny, forgettable place, just the way he liked it. The scent of burnt espresso and old fryer grease filled the air. Perfect. Anonymous. Sliding into a back booth, Robert kept his head low, the brim of his ball cap shielding his face. He slid the thumb drive from his pocket and plugged it into the burner laptop he carried, an old, battered machine loaded with nothing but encryption software and hope. The files loaded slowly. Agonizingly slow. Robert tapped his fingers nervously against the sticky tabletop, glancing up every few seconds toward the windows. No black SUVs yet. No strange men in suits scanning the cafe. Yet. As the drive whirred, a series of folders popped up, more than he had seen before. His heart kicked into overdrive. One folder caught his eye immediately, Project Resurrection, Phase 2. He opened it. Inside were detailed timelines, financial records, and surveillance reports, not just about Prototype X-45, but about others. Names of high-profile political figures, corporate titans, even military generals were listed alongside phrases like Neural Harvest Complete and Integration Scheduled Q4 2025. Robert's stomach twisted into a knot. This wasn't just about Trump. It wasn't even just about America. This was global. Suddenly, a shadow loomed across the table. Robert's head snapped up, and for a split second, he locked eyes with a man in a black suit, standing at the coffee shop door, scanning the room with surgical coldness. Their eyes met. Run. Now. Robert slammed the laptop closed, scooping it under his arm as he bolted out the emergency exit, the door's alarm screaming into the humid morning like a war cry. Behind him, the chase reignited, louder, faster, deadlier. Chapter 3, Chasing Shadows, Page 3. The alley behind the coffee shop exploded into chaos. Robert sprinted hard, his laptop clutched tight against his chest, weaving between dumpsters, dodging broken pallets, vaulting over puddles slick with oil and rainwater. Behind him, heavy footsteps thundered closer, more than one set. Maybe 3. Maybe more. They were faster. Stronger. Train for this. Robert cursed under his breath, adrenaline igniting every muscle fiber. His mind raced just as fast as his legs, calculating escape routes, thinking 2, 3 moves ahead. He spotted a rusted fire escape ladder halfway up the side of an abandoned building and made a split-second decision. He jumped, grabbing the bottom rung, the old metal groaning under his weight. Hauling himself up, he scrambled hand over hand, not daring to look down. Bullets sparked against the brick wall just below his feet, sending chunks of masonry flying. They're not trying to capture you anymore, Robert. They're trying to erase you. He reached the rooftop and bolted across it, the soles of his shoes pounding against the tar paper. A narrow gap yawned between the building he was on and the next one over, a good 15 feet across. His chest heaved. His heart roared. No time to hesitate. He leapt. The world tilted, slowed, the ground yawning beneath him, and for one sickening heartbeat he thought he wouldn't make it. Then his fingers caught the ledge, scraping across rough concrete. He dragged himself up, lungs burning, arms shaking. Behind him, the agents didn't bother with heroics. One of them barked into a comms device clipped to his collar. Visual lost. Sector 4. Request aerial drone sweep. Robert staggered into the shadows, vanishing into the city's underbelly. He needed help. Fast. And there was only one person he trusted to disappear him now, an old hacker contact from his early days of reporting, someone who owed him a favor big enough to cash in. Her name was Juno, and if she was still alive, she was his only shot at staying that way. Chapter 4, Into the Underground, page 1. The city's face changed as Robert pushed deeper into its underbelly. Gone were the polished skyscrapers and clean sidewalks. Here, in the forgotten edges of downtown, crumbling warehouses and flickering street lamps marked the territory of ghosts, hustlers, and the kind of people society pretended didn't exist. Robert kept moving, blending into the grime, the filth, the noise. His ribs ached, his legs burned, but he couldn't stop. Somewhere above, drones buzzed like angry hornets, scanning alleyways, rooftops, sewer grates. They were hunting him. He ducked into a narrow alley littered with broken glass and graffiti-splattered walls. At the end of it, half concealed by a rusted chain-link fence, was a door with a faded red symbol spray-painted onto it, a fox with its tail curled into the shape of an ancient key. The fox and the key. It was Juno's sign, a message for those who knew where to look, a silent whisper that she was still alive, and still watching. Robert rapped 3 times on the door in a sharp rhythm, then waited, heart hammering against his ribs. Silence. For a moment, only the sound of distant sirens filled the air. He rapped again, adding the coded double tap at the end. This time, a small slit in the door slid open, revealing a pair of sharp, suspicious eyes. "You're either brave," a woman's voice rasped through the opening, "or really, really stupid." "It's me," Robert said, trying to keep his voice steady. "It's Robert Alexander. I need help. They're trying to kill me." The slit remained open for a long, agonizing moment. Robert could almost feel her calculating the risk, weighing whether he was worth saving, or better left for dead. Finally, with a heavy clank, the door unlatched and creaked open just wide enough for him to slip inside. The darkness swallowed him whole. Chapter 4, Into the Underground, page 2. Inside the hidden lair, the air was thick with heat and old metal, humming with the low growl of machines long past their prime. Robert followed Juno through a twisting maze of abandoned tunnels, the walls lined with exposed wires and half-functioning tech scavenged from a dozen black markets. It was a fortress stitched together by desperation and genius. Juno led him into a central chamber where an array of battered monitors glowed like watchful eyes, cracked keyboards, stripped-down drones, and stacks of encrypted hard drives cluttered every surface. On the far wall, a giant whiteboard was covered in frantic scrawls, maps, timelines, newspaper clippings, and photographs of politicians with red slashes drawn through them. "You're not just dropping trouble on me," Juno said finally, her voice tight as she booted up her system. "You're dropping a goddamn apocalypse." Robert set the old laptop and the thumb drive carefully on the desk beside her, feeling the weight of everything pressing down. "I didn't have anywhere else to go," he said. "You're the only one who can help me stay ahead of them." Juno inserted the drive, her fingers dancing over the cracked keyboard. Firewalls crumbled under her touch. A cascading series of files began to unravel across the largest monitor, revealing schematics, DNA graphs, bank transactions, and worse. A series of documents flashed past bearing official Tesla headers. Robert caught a glimpse of one line before it disappeared into the sea of files. Prototype Expansion Directive, Global Assimilation Targets Phase 2A. Europe to follow. Juno sucked in a breath, sitting back hard in her chair. Jesus, Robert, she whispered. This isn't just some underground experiment. They're building an entirely new world order. He leaned in closer, his mouth dry. And it's already started. Juno turned sharply, her eyes burning into his. If this is real, and it looks damn real, then we're not talking about surviving anymore. She paused, her voice dropping into a whisper. We're talking about war. Chapter 4, Into the Underground, page 3. Juno's fingers flew across her keyboard, tracing hidden pathways through layers of encrypted files. The monitors reflected cold blue light across her hardened face, making her look even more battle-worn than Robert remembered. The deeper she dug, the more the truth clawed its way to the surface, and it was uglier than either of them had imagined. This isn't just Musk's project, she muttered, squinting at a cascading file tree. He's got government contracts, private black ops companies, even shell corporations tied to other tech giants. Apple, Meta, Quantum Space Systems, hell, even NASA has fingerprints here. Robert leaned over her shoulder, feeling the weight of every name she rattled off like a new chain tightening around his chest. How deep does it go? He asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. Juno pointed at a new window opening on the screen, a classified memo labeled Executive Integration Timetable. World leaders are next. Full cognitive transfers are scheduled for testing within 18 months. Musk's not just playing God, Robert. He's replacing the players entirely. Robert ran a hand through his hair, the reality setting in like a cold knife to the gut. This wasn't about re-electing politicians. It wasn't even about power anymore. It was about control over human history itself. Suddenly, every monitor in the hideout blinked once, then again. Juno froze. What the hell, she whispered. A blinking red message flashed across all screens at once, location detected. Security response initiated. Robert's stomach dropped. They'd found them. Heavy metallic thuds echoed from somewhere deep within the tunnel system, growing louder with each beat. They're here, Juno growled, yanking the thumb drive free and stuffing it into a battered go bag. She shoved the bag into Robert's chest. Time to move. Before he could even react, Juno grabbed a nearby crowbar, smashed two of the main monitors into sparks, and yanked a hidden lever behind the desk. With a screech of rusted metal, a hidden hatch swung open in the floor. This way, now! She barked. Without hesitation, Robert jumped into the darkness below, right as the first gunshots shattered the silence behind him. Chapter 4, Into the Underground, page 4. Robert hit the ground hard, rolling into a cramped, foul-smelling tunnel that stretched into pitch blackness. Juno landed beside him with a grunt, already scrambling to her feet. Overhead, the pounding of boots and the crackle of radios echoed through the ruined station above them. The agents were swarming in. This way! Juno hissed, pulling a small flashlight from her pocket. She flicked it on, revealing a narrow maintenance tunnel barely wide enough for them to squeeze through. Robert tucked the go bag against his chest and followed, knees scraping against the damp, grimy floor as they crawled. The air was thick with mildew and rust, every breath tasting like decay. Somewhere behind them, he could hear the metallic clang of someone prying at the hatch they had just used. They're right behind us, he gasped. No kidding, Juno shot back. Her voice was tense but steady. She thrived in chaos, and right now, chaos was their only friend. The tunnel branched ahead, 3 paths, each marked by ancient, faded maintenance signs. Robert pointed to the left. This one leads toward the river. We can lose them in the drainage tunnels. Juno nodded without hesitation. They veered left, plunging deeper into the darkness. Water dripped from corroded pipes overhead, and rats skittered along the edges of their vision. Every heartbeat felt like it was counting down to an inevitable clash. Suddenly, Juno stopped short, holding up a fist. Robert froze. Ahead, faint beams of light bobbed through the darkness, agents sweeping the tunnels from another entrance. "We're boxed in," Juno whispered. Robert's mind raced. "Think, damn it. Think!" Then he saw it, a crumbling ventilation shaft just big enough for one person at a time. He jabbed a finger at it. "Up there! Go!" Juno hoisted herself up first, disappearing into the narrow duct with practiced ease. Robert handed her the go bag and scrambled after her, the muscles in his arms burning as he pulled himself inside. Below them, the tunnel filled with angry voices and the clatter of boots. Robert squeezed deeper into the shaft, the metal groaning under their combined weight. It was tight, almost unbearably claustrophobic, but it was the only way out. Juno whispered from ahead, her voice a low growl. "Next stop," she said, "is freedom or a bullet." Robert didn't have to think twice. He kept climbing,